Hey Raquel, it's Jacob. How you doing? Um, just getting to your personal reading here. I wanted to thank you for the jewelry. Thank you for sending that. I was really surprised how much stuff you sent. That was really cool. And I'm kind of cleared and everything already, and I was doing some shuffling and just connecting to your energy. And I know you said you kind of didn't have any specifics, but just gave me a little bit of information. Some birthdays, and we're open to whatever messages were coming up, and got a few, so just thinking of where to start. um, they were saying, just to do like a little bit with regard to your family with like the boys, but that this was mostly going to be like your reading, and so um, excuse me, they were showing me images when I was just getting started here, because I was trying to figure out, what kind of spread to throw you. And they just told me to do my usual spread because you connect to that one pretty well, and that it would just be good to dial it into your personal, specifics. And so I haven't done all that yet, but I already started getting messages, and some of it was about love. Other stuff was let me just jump back. So they were showing me first. It's the child divine image that's in my archetype deck. And everybody has a child archetype. It's like that one with like prostitute. Everybody has been, that prostitute archetype at some point. And child is one of the other ones too. And there's like, I think 4 different kinds of children they talk about in the deck. And the one that was showing up for you is child divine. And I had to like go through the deck and just make sure that was the image that I was being seen, shown, and it was. And so I'm just going to, because it was just like it was like a clairvoyant image. I'm just going to read to you what it says about that. Child. Variations include eternal, divine, boy, girl, magical, innocent, nature, abandoned, orphan, and wounded, many of which are present to some degree in every psyche. One aspect is usually dominant. Choose carefully, because you can have only one child archetype in your support team. And the one that Spirit was showing me for you that just popped up was child divine. And it says, closely related to magical, innocent child, but distinguished by its redemptive mission. Associated with innocence, purity, and redemption, godlike qualities. Godlike qualities that suggest a special union with the divine itself. Shadow and divine child manifests as an inability to defend oneself against negative forces. Ask whether you see life through the eyes of a benevolent, trusting god or goddess, or tend to respond to others with fear of being hurt, or with a desire to hurt others first. Then the other thing they were showing me was the femme fatale image. And they told me to read this one to you because it will make sense about what happened next. Sometimes these are hard to unroll for people because they happen so fast and like flashes. I'm like, how do I explain what I just saw? Okay, here we go, step by step. Femme fatale, black widow, flirt, siren, cirque, seductress, enchantress. And then there's 4 bullet points and a tip here. First one says, represents highly refined skills at manipulating men both sexually and financially without investing personal emotion. Sometimes adds the twist of symbolically killing her conquest. Positive aspect manifests as opening the heart when the male object rejects her manipulations and dependency, and the shadow femme fatale only wants to acquire more men and more money. And then it says, look for a pattern of manipulative behavior and acquisitiveness. And when I do the prayers, like beforehand, I light, stuff and pray, and sometimes I'll do like a smoke prayer. Actually, I always do a smoke prayer for the client. And I did one for you and one for your boys. And this that I'm showing you here is the incense from your oldest son, the 27-year-old, I guess. I guess the other one's what, about... The other one's turning 23, it looks like, but your Gemini sun. And I just kept hearing like little big boy, like that you had like two little big boys. They grew up pretty fast in their minds and what they wanted. And they said that the second one has the same fire as you. He's a lot like you. And they kept telling me non-believer with your oldest son and saying that he's just really skeptical. And I had such a hard time even lighting his sage. And they said he really needs some prayers right now because he's trying to do some things, but it's like really a different life path than like what you and your youngest son have and just feel connected to. You guys are kind of on a different trip. You're very like-minded, and they both love you a lot. What was interesting was when I was doing the smoke prayers, I was getting like this really weird protective thing all around, and your sage cracked. My hand barely touched it, and then they were saying something about like a need to be careful about how you let others put their hands on you, and like especially men, and that I think this is stuck with the kids a lot for some reason because they kept showing me the boys like watching and just saying that, you know, I think that they were saying it was good that you were careful how you let others put their hands on you, and that that's kind of like been an issue or something that's like coming up. And I'm getting it with more with the older son, I think, but they keep saying little big boy to me. I don't know what that means or if that means anything to you at all. But the other thing was they were saying something about like a love situation and it just being like something that just like I heard turned around and upside down, and then they said, well, not upside down anymore because she worked through it. And then they said something about feeling like you were kind of like a slave to the grind, and just that it's like you're almost just kind of like over it, but you've been too busy to even talk about it, but you kind of need to. They said it's like a good thing to process, and they said you were finding some way to talk about this stuff and that it was going to be helpful because maybe your kids weren't ready to hear it yet, but it's not like they don't want to. It's just like hard because it's something they think they might have perceived is what I'm hearing. And I'm really sorry to do this, but I gotta pause and get up for something. I'll be right back. Your angels are all over you. I'm not really sure what I had to get up for, but when I came back, they like spilled my deck, one of my decks that was here, that I had been shuffling with your energies, and they said that the worst part is really over, and they said that the situation is already resolved. You can detach from the situation. The situation is already resolved. Write about your thoughts and feelings. And then they sent eternal love. So literally, like, this deck just spilled. And you can see what it says. Detach from the situation. The situation has already been resolved. Write about your thoughts and feelings. Eternal love. That's just how it just spilled. So that was you. And then they also knocked this card on top. And so, you know, this is the one I usually use in my Tarot by Tribe series for physical material realm. And this is the Eight of Swords, Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot deck. They said this is you, that was you, like, not knowing how to come out of the situation and feeling restricted. They said you're actually finding the way to talk about it now. And so whatever you're doing, that's good. They said you should write, though. And something about, you know, it's really just gonna be the thing that unrestricts you and just helps you feel better about it. They also said you might have somebody in your life right now too, like a new interest, and they said there's definitely chemistry there, but that the connection's not too strong yet, so just stay focused. I'm just gonna go ahead, and this is kind of freestyle right now, so I was just listening to see if I heard anything else from your guides directly. I'm not really hearing anything else. So we probably won't talk too much about the boys unless they like throw me an image about that. I'm just going to shuffle, and I'll kind of just throw down like what I normally do that you're pretty used to. We'll do an archetype. We'll do a mental card. We'll do a physical material realm. I'll pull a romance card, and we'll do an Archangel Michael advice card. And if anything doesn't seem too clear, to me at least, I'll try to look in for some clarity, but I kind of feel like they've already been a little bit specific with you. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Oh, and I'm going to light your oldest son's sage again. I'm going to try because I had the sage going here, and that one just didn't go at all. I had to light it like 4 times, so I'm going to try it again here and say a little prayer for him, okay? said you really needed to see that. Separation. Let go of control issues. They have their own time, is what I heard. They also they were reminding me, just to mention to you, I did their life path, your sons. I guess this is about your sons. You might want to look into life path numbers if you haven't looked into these. I know you're really into like tarot cards and psychic readings and astrology and stuff. And if you haven't looked into your life lesson or life path numerology, you're a 9, and so is your son, the Libra. He's also a 9, which, think of the Hermit. Okay. It's like a philosophical, humanitarian style, very wise energy. Your son that just turned 27, who will be entering his Saturn return soon. I believe it seems like his Saturn's probably getting ready to return. He's a life path 8. And that, as an archetype and like major arcana that you might be familiar with, is the Strength card. So it's also a little divided sometimes. It can be an inner conflict. And as a Gemini, right, he's a Gemini, isn't he? Yeah, I got 2 interesting, Gemini and Libra, and those are both kind of duality type things, but you might want to look into what an 8 means too. It's an interesting number. They say that, like, that's like a natural leader kind of number. A lot of times people that have that number can become very wealthy due to different works they do. They said something about like robbed beliefs though with him. And maybe just pushing too hard in some directions, but I'm just hearing he's gonna need his own time. So he's strong-willed, really strong-willed, and I think that's a good thing. He needs some prayer though, so something feels a little hurt there. I think you're aware of that. And anyway, they just stopped me there when that let go of control issues flew out, and what was literally underneath it was separation. And so they just said, look into the life paths. You and your youngest son are both 9s, and your eldest son is an 8. I'm going to finish shuffling. Okay, they really want you to get this message. That just came out again, so it's pretty big for you, Raquel. Wow. I just had to look at what was underneath it. They're just saying you learned so much. I really feel like saying God bless you. They say that you've, like, really put up with some major shit to find the balance that you have, and I heard, like, resurrection, rebirth, and they're giving a lot of call right now just to your inner light. And before I get into anything else, I will just tell you there's a lot of yellow in your reading here. And I've been getting a lot of yellow for some of the signs over the past couple months. And, you know, this is, for me, what it's saying is about your healthy sense of self. That's what I like to call it. You know, it's your healthy ego. It's the part of you that's helped you thrive, you know, despite, like, I'm hearing abuse, you know, some abusive shit that happened that probably would have had enough other people feeling confined enough to not recover, you know, in the ways that they're saying you thrive. And that's what that Eight of Swords was all about. It's about coming out of a time where, you know, you just had a lot of things blocking you that affected even your ability to feel like a healthy sense of pride. And that what's shining here more than anything else, and I want to pay special attention to for you, Raquel, is your inner light. Because they're saying that's like your triumph there. And that's like, that's your soul. That's the parts of you that, even though others have tried to, like, pick away at you, I just see them, like, picking away. It's like, it's what they could never take, you know? It's the part of you that no one could take from you. And it's the part that's shining like a motherfucking light right now, because you've got some yellow, awesome stuff shooting off of you. And they're just reminding me to tell you not to forget that you are worth all the things that would entitle you to what you've put yourself into, and not to let that get into your head. I hope I'm saying that right. Sometimes I'm just hearing certain words and it's maybe not the way I would choose to say it, but I think it's your guides talking to you. So I'm not hearing anything else about that, but if you're not doing chakra work yet, pay close attention to your third chakra. Okay? That's the one that's yellow. It's the one that's under your heart and above your spleen. Okay, it's the one right here in your sternal column, in your sternal region, right here. And let's go ahead and jump into your archetype, because that's you. Warrior. I should also just say, since this is a general, I didn't get really specific on time frames. I just, asked for what you needed to hear. And they're kind of telling me that some of this might be flexible time-wise, but it's pretty much a snapshot of what the next month is going to be about. So, give or take a few days. We're at the end of August right now. It's like almost 5 o'clock here on the 29th. So, unless they give me other specific time frames about anything, sometimes with generals I just kind of like to free flow it like that, because we get more information. So basically, warrior, they just said this is like application time. This is all about how you're applying it, and that a lot has been changing. What the card says is light attributes: strength, skill, discipline, and toughness of will, heroism, stoicism, and self-sacrifice, and conquering the ego. shadow attributes, trading ethical principles for victory at any cost, indifference to the suffering inflicted on others. And they're saying that's more like what it felt like that you have like dealt with most of your life, and that's why now it's almost like kind of like reward season. Things are going in another direction because it's helped you cultivate like the balance side of that energy. And they keep showing me balance. Like a lot of times I see cards that I'm familiar with, you know, they'll show me that as like a leap off point. And you know, my John Holland deck I always use for the mental sector. There's a card that represents the Justice card that I always see more like the Temperance card that's got a really big angel. It's the 11 card. And he's like going like this. And you see like his solar plexus halo around him, protecting him or her, you. And they have all their tools in front of them. They're not exactly like picking up and using them like your Eight of Pentacles person that's like working, you know, or anything like that. But they have it, and it's like pointing to an awareness of knowing how to skillfully use your talents and the tools available in any situation. And they're saying that's why you're showing up like this. So this is like, I'm seeing it like the same angel, like picking a path, grabbing a tool, and like ready to go. And so they say that's you. And that a lot of this is actually coming from your upper consciousness just because you've learned so much. I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'll go back and read the book too, but, you know, that's how you're showing up. That word says wisdom. 5. John Holland Psychic Tarot Oracle deck. That's aka the Hierophant, which I often think of as the actual hermit in that picture sometimes, because it kind of looks like a similar image, at least in this deck. That elder there in the center. And that person's holding a book of light. And there are 2 people there that are benefiting from the light of that wisdom. I think that might be your sons. It's lighting up the world in this picture here. And they're saying, too, the biggest risk that you have right now is not being able to let go of the past as you kind of, you know, see here somebody's forgiving and learning. That's the romantic / personal sector. Forgiving and learning, it's not always romantic, like I said, you know. This is more about like life lessons. It says, as release and heal the past, you experience more love in your present moments. And there's that yellow, you know. This is like your higher guidance saying to forgive yourself. I'm hearing for bad situations that you couldn't control. They said it was completely out of your control. And the hardest part right now is like you kind of letting yourself off the hook for that shit. They said this is actually a tip for how you should be like handling yourself. Like come to yourself for forgiveness for this. And that's your higher mind like whispering to you that it's okay, you know? Like maybe to bring yourself up a little bit, because, and I think that's what's happening. The way they're showing it to me is it's like your spirit guide is like actually you talking to you about how to pull yourself up from here. And then they show you standing up like this in your truth and being like a fierce warrior goddess about your light, what you've learned and how you're applying it. And you know, they're showing you showing up like this, almost victorious, but a little bit blocked right now. And they're telling me it's just hesitation, and it has to do with that yellow everywhere, and that it's your self-esteem. But that you're really on the right path. They keep saying it. They're saying you created the situation, you have the power to change it. But really what they're saying is that, you know, it's really up to you how you want to write this dialogue going forward, and that, You know, how you galvanize this, how you put these things together, how you put yourself out there is what's going to make the difference about, you know, how confident and comfortable you are about that path and some of the difficult things that they're saying you want reconciliation about. But I'm just going to go ahead and bust open some books here. We'll read this and put it together a little more. Alright, with the Carolyn Mace archetype cards, I'll look up warrior for you here. Here's what it says, Raquel. Soldier, crime fighter, Amazon, mercenary, gunslinger, samurai. Represents physical strength and the ability to protect and fight for your rights. Linked to invincibility, loyalty, and the passage from boyhood to manhood, girlhood to womanhood. Can also be female, as in the legendary Amazon tribe of warrior women, and has emerged once again through women who liberate and protect others who need representation. Mercenary and soldier of fortune are variations on the hired killer who sells his power with complete disregard for the cause. Gunslinger and samurai appeal to your fantasies of independence and self-defense, yet they also carry the historic weight of predatory evil. In their favorable aspect, they all warn you when you're in danger of aligning your might with an unjust or purely self-interested cause. The spiritual warrior pioneered by Dan Millman, Chogyam Trungpa, and others directs you to use the classic warrior virtues of heroism, stoicism, and self-sacrifice for conquering the ego and gaining control of the inner realm. Shadow warrior distorts or abandons ethical principles in the name of victory at any cost. Look for a lifetime commitment to courageous battle wherever and whenever and wherever necessary. So they're just saying it's kind of like being the champion of your own truth and making sure that nobody has the privilege over you to kind of edit that dialogue in a way that's less than savory to you. But the biggest challenge that you have right now is yourself, because it's more like you like criticizing yourself and like how you put it out there. And so I just keep hearing that you need to feel like a classy lady. That's what they're saying to me. They're like, she doesn't feel like a classy lady sometimes because of it, and that, you know, it's like her stepping into whatever it is, you know, her inner light in a way that really lets her put herself out there in that way, because she is a classy lady. That's all I'm hearing on that one. I'm going to go ahead and flip through the Psychic Tarot Oracle deck book on your Wisdom card, which, you know, you're probably familiar with that Rider-Waite deck. You know, everybody's got it. That's going to be the Hermit, the Hierophant card in that deck, which is also, for me, it's kind of like, sometimes it's a marriage card, you know, and there's a lot of love stuff coming up. I was getting some soulmate vibe, which could very much be your son's too, just because, you know, soulmates come in different forms, but this sometimes is like a marriage card or a union card. That's like a couple that's really happy when they're showing up like this. And when it's like this, sometimes it's like either non-starter or hasn't really come together the way we want it to yet. And I was hearing, though, that, you know, there's really a good connection with somebody, and, you know, maybe it just hasn't taken the shape that you wanted enough yet, but they were saying too that you might actually have somebody that kind of feels like an angel in your world, and that it's really a healing sort of relationship for you, and that it's the kind of thing that can actually help bring some more balance into your life. And so just make sure you're really working with it and working with yourself. And they wanted me to tell you too that you might have a tendency to feel like you're not good enough for this person. I keep getting like this not good enough kind of vibe thing about some stuff with you, and they're just saying that, you know, that has so much to do with just the way you were treated and that you know what you did or didn't compromise. And right now, you know, this is really about you forgiving your own heart to help you with that kind of suffering, because they're showing me like a lot of pain and just like being like picked away at. And I keep seeing somebody kind of like coming at you like that, you know, like, but it seems like more like past stuff. And then it just left you feeling kind of like, you know, that part of you was just open and just like bleeding, like your self-esteem, you know. And you've done a lot of work to get where you are right now. Good on you. And just know that, you know, if you have like somebody showing up like an angel in your world, somebody you feel really connected to, and, you know, maybe there's some love there, work with yourself, okay? Because nothing's ever promised to us, and sometimes we get like a little taste of something awesome like that, and it has the tendency to be like crack sometimes, you know, especially if it's really good. And you know, we can get all up in our heads too, especially if we've had like, you know, some traumatic life shit and eaten away at those parts of us that allow us to feel, you know, like we're worthy of receiving like that. And, you know, they're saying you actually created this situation. This is a reflection of you. And so if it hasn't come together the way you want it yet, you know, keep working with yourself. And the best thing you can do really is just focus on the things that are going to help remind you of how good you actually are, because you are good. And anything you can do to kind of tap into like these kind of golden hues, like that color yellow, they're saying you have the ability to kind of turn this upright, because this is really about your internal dialogue with yourself. And they already said you kind of like already know this, that, you know, you're like watching this and you're like, yeah, I already know. And they're just saying that's what you needed to hear, that yes, you do already know. And now's the time to take that energy and ground it into your form, and to do more of that work. Keep going at that, because this is helping you put it together. And just because you might not be so happy with the dialogue that's been created yet, or, you know, whatever this creative project is, however you're putting it forward, you don't have to, you know, feel stuck. They're saying, you know, this is a leap off point for you to then take this, whatever you've been working with, your ideas, and, you know, they're telling me it's like details about your life, you know, the story of yourself that you are telling. And that maybe these things, even if you're not like so hot on like it yet, you can take that and adapt that. This is just the birth of it. This is just started, actually, is what I'm hearing. So you might have a bit longer way to go, but they said right path, write about it, and then rewrite about it, and then rewrite about it, and keep working with that. Because as you're talking your truth, you're also figuring out what you learned and how you applied it in a way that actually changed things for you. So it's not just like, you know, they're saying harping on about the past, because there's a point where you can also make yourself not feel better sometimes talking about things with people. You know what I'm talking about. You know, sometimes it's a constructive thing, like here's what happened and ... and then with other people it's just like, oh, this horrible thing happened and blah 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 blah, and you can just relive it in a way that's actually painful. And they say that you've kind of walked through most of those steps, and you might still be teeter-tottering on that edge, you know, because this is still like what's happening. That's like walking through that process. And that, you know, it's kind of like almost like ready to take the next step, where it's not so much about like, here's what happened and what didn't happen. It's more like, well, now we're really clear on how we feel about what the experience was. And I say we as in you. Now she is really clear on what the experience actually was for her, and it not being so much just about the experience now, but why that allowed her to be who she is and to make the choices that she has because of. It's just a little different. And so I think that's why they were showing me that 8 of Swords reverse and saying that the worst part's over. And the mental prison part of it, where you're like kind of nagging at yourself and not really always feeling like your best. And they keep saying classy lady. It's because how other people were like viewing things, and they said it was a small town. I just heard something pop when I said that. That was weird. But they said that, like, the worst thing, like, the mistake that could happen is you carrying that or attaching to that, because it's just, like, a different game now. You know, it's like a whole new game. It's, like, totally different. You're on something different. And they said you're not really a femme fatale, that's, like, maybe, like, a bad negative perception that some people might, like, have tried to, like, superimpose onto you for whatever. Like, I'm hearing bochinche. You may or may not know that word. My family, my mom is Puerto Rican, you know, my dad's Puerto Rican, and there's this word. My Spanish isn't great, by the way, yet. I'm working on it. But there's a word, bochinche. I don't even know if it's a real word or like a colloquialism of some sort, but they're telling me bochinche and going like this, like people, like, you know, clucking like ducks, you know, and like bochinche. That it's just like people talking out of their neck about shit they don't know, and like gossip. So bochinche sometimes is like, you know, people just talking shit. And that can have a way of like sticking to people and just like tarnishing their own self-image and even what other people say or think about them, like in wherever they live or, you know, do their business. And if it's a small town, they just keep saying small town, but they're saying that, you know, none of it's like, that stuff isn't true. I'm so sorry. I think that's my bank. I think I might be buying a new home, but I will call that back. Yeah, they're just saying that it's like, you know, it's time for you to kind of just really step into your awareness of the fact that, you know, you are holding the light of who you are, you know what you've done and what you haven't done, and that there have been people that will just very gladly take stabs at you, and that you might be a really easy target, and it's a cheap fucking shot, is what I'm hearing. But they're also saying that you've just got a lot more control over the situation than you even realize, and that now it's a really good time to just focus on what you can do to help you feel like you're just really living that purpose, because people are always going to say whatever, and sometimes it's like even family members that can be the worst, you know, that maybe think they knew something and are just like sided, you know, for whatever reason with whomever it was that was actually like getting away with some bullshit. And I'm hearing a lot of bullshit. Shit, I've seen stuff like that in my own family. And they're just saying that it's like the best thing you can do is just like keep being awesome, because people are like respecting you. They're showing me people throwing you respect and like wanting to learn things from you that you've taken the time to learn. What is that I'm hearing? I keep hearing strangers in the night, exchanging glances. Do, 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 do. It's like ballroom music. I have no idea what that was about. I heard it. I kept hearing do, 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 do. And they told me to just put it there. But yeah, I'm just seeing like people respecting you, and that whatever those things are that you're doing that are helping you experience the side of yourself that feels like the classy lady that you are, you know, that's the thing to keep doing right now. And they're just saying like that's going to be like the sweetest revenge too, because what you did is not what they were expecting, and it's not what everybody else would have done, and that you know, you're not like the kind of person that really spends a whole lot of time just like trying to do things for other people to look at you differently. It's just like how you are, you know, you're just like a really tenacious person, and that's such a Capricorn way to be, you know, just so cappy to just find a way through like insurmountable challenges by other people's standards, and you know, just making it and just like showing up, and it's like, and what, you know, and you do that. And it can just be hard too if you're also a sensitive person that's been through a lot, and you know, maybe you have been disadvantaged with just having people that almost don't want to like let you be who you are, and it's like they keep wanting to tell you who you are based off of a false dialogue of something that maybe never even really happened the way they want to believe it. And so it's just like, if you hear these things enough and you're around that enough and you're received that way enough and reflected that way enough, it can really tear away, you know, at those parts of you. But they're just saying it's kind of over. And I feel like there's some kind of new opportunity for you too, that if you're not embracing it yet just because you feel like less than confident, is what I'm hearing, about what is rightfully your own reason to be successful, please get out of your head as soon as possible, because that is all fiction in your head. And this might be a difficult time for a lot of people because we are going Mercury retrograde right now. The shadow period for me created a lot of crazy stuff in my own life, and I've had to like kind of keep it glued together personally. I had a lot of shit going on over the weekend. I didn't even make it to my camping trip like I told you, because there was a lot to deal with. And everything that I almost lost it over, where I just kind of like lose my energy a little bit, like, you know, what's going on, turned out to be like really good. Like good shit happened. Like not even slightly less bad, but like the opposite of what I thought. And so I'm not saying that's how it's going to go for everybody, but if there are things that feel like your time bombs right now, and like those detonators, and like just people kind of coming at you like with like their little sharp like bullshit like coming at you, stay away from them if you can. It's only like 3-4 weeks or whatever, you know, put more time into whatever this dance is you have going on, that, you know, I'm hearing you have a good dance partner somewhere. I'm going to read to you. Did I read this yet? No, I didn't. We're going to go ahead and read the John Holland Psychic Tarot Oracle deck book. Sorry, I go off on tangents when I get the messages. Wisdom 5, aka the Hierophant. Also a marriage card sometimes with partners. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. This card illustrates that there's a spiritual teacher who's about to influence you or step into your life to impart his or her wisdom. Look around. Is there someone in your life who has the acumen, education, knowledge, and ability to integrate spirituality and its laws into the constraints of the physical world? This could be a compassionate person who offers guidance and inspiration and reminds you that you're so much more than a physical being. You're also a spiritual being with unlimited potential. You may have also drawn this card to confirm that it's time to reach out and find an organization or group of like-minded souls. Being part of a group where you can be yourself, share your thoughts, and get valuable feedback can infuse you and encourage you to be all that you can be. Kindred support helps you to live your life to your highest ideals, finding the true inspiration and enlightenment that's part of your soul. Over time, the student can often become the teacher, so don't be surprised when others seek you out and find you. This card of wisdom is letting you know that you have so much to share, whether you realize it or not. Traditional tarot archetype, the Hierophant. So, yeah, that's like what I was saying there, you know, they're showing me like people just having respect for what you do. And I feel like that might also be a future forecast. They're saying like within the next 5 years, you're on a really good cycle right now. And actually it may be less than that. I'm hearing like you may have already turned the first year. It might only be 4. But that I'm seeing like a 5-year cycle of you applying these things. And this project They're talking to me about a creative project that you have an idea of. They're saying it's still in infancy, but that it's got really good vibes, Raquel. And that, really just stay on this and keep working with the idea, because I'm just hearing that it's something that can really open a new avenue that you haven't thought about, where I'm seeing you speaking in front of people, to be honest with you. And I don't know if that's what you want or not, and it doesn't have to be like you standing there speaking, but I was actually seeing you standing, speaking in front of people. And just kind of sharing a story. So, if that's something that you have aspiration for, at least they're saying that's like really like accessible to you. That you actually have your hand on this, and you have a lot under your control. You have all the tools here. You've learned quite a bit. You know how to apply it. But they're saying you're not really happy with how it's coming out yet, is what I'm hearing. And that, a lot of you starting to feel happy about it is really just learning to forgive yourself for the parts that you wish you could edit out. And maybe changing the focal point, because we all have those. Okay? And you don't need to feel badly for that stuff. And it's your life, and you're empowered about how you share what you've learned from it. And, maybe that's the part that needs a little bit more work. And they're just saying focusing on your third chakra is going to help a lot, because it's going to help you get in touch with your light in that. And that's the part that's lacking, and it just feels like maybe it's just had too many cheap shots taken at. So it's like, that can really get in your mind about how you're even expressing this stuff. So, but again, I'm hearing the worst of it is over, and I'm going to just read to you what the Forgiving and Learning card says, and then I think we're going to wrap this one up on your prayer, because it's been almost an hour now too, so your guides have been chatty. Alright, Raquel, Forgiving and Learning. As you release and heal from the past, you experience more love in your present moments. The romance angels have heard your desire for great love, and they bring you this card as guidance. They see that your heart can give and receive the bliss of romance by clearing away the cobwebs of your past. The angels know that you've been hurt before, and that you're wary of being hurt again. Yet your defenses are creating barriers to allowing love into your life. As you heal your past, you won't keep recreating it. After all, you attract into your life the situations and relationships that remind you of what you've already experienced, because that is a primary tool of healing. To change to a healthier relationship pattern, it's necessary to detoxify any old anger, blame, or unforgiveness you may be holding. This includes forgiving yourself. If you call upon the angels and ask them to help you release and heal your past, they'll clear away the heaviness so that your heart can soar with happiness. And they say you're like aware that that's happening right now, and the best thing you can do is keep feeding your knowledge of that, so that you don't lose any grasp on this good thing, because you're already doing it, my dear. They're saying that every success that's coming your way, and especially if you're feeling some loving attention from people, no matter what the form is, it's because you actually earned it and you deserve it, and that people are only showing you back the light that you've actually shown them. It's a reflection of your light. So if you start feeling unworthy about things, just realize Mercury in this form too can be maybe exacerbating that, and that maybe you just need a little more love right now. Okay, self-love over the next 30 days. And they keep saying put on your dancing shoes. So if there's if that's helping, I saw flamenco in your name too, so I'm guessing you have something going on with that. But go on with your bad self. Get into that. Get into your body and just free flow. Free flow yourself. Let your shine move, and just keep working on how you're talking to yourself about what happened. they're saying that you're actually the one that needs to be convinced the most. That's what I just heard. So I'm going to leave you on this advice from Archangel Michael. You created the situation. You have the power to change it, darling. So, dear Archangel Michael, thank you for letting me lean on your strength and for reminding me of my personal power. Please guide me to manifest and heal according to divine will, creating peace and blessings for everyone involved. Amen. All right, Raquel, that's what I got for you. I hope you liked it. I hope it made sense. And I really look forward to hearing what you think. Let me know if you had any questions or if there's anything else I can do for you. All right, sister. God bless you.